Hi, my name is Awilda Jimenez. I'm a virtual content specialist teacher from PS 386 in the Bronx. I've created this teacher-facing video in partnership with Maria Friedland from the Division of Multilingual Learners. Our goal is to create content for multilingual learners and English language learners to use during blended and remote instruction. Today's last teacher-facing video will be focusing on the independent practice portion of the Grade 4 Unit 3 Day 14 lesson entitled The Boston Massacre. If you're using the Passport of Social Studies workbook pages, you could use the pages from page 149 to page 153. The focus question is, what events led to the war with Great Britain? And the lesson objective is to explore primary source images and text in order to analyze the impact of how a pivotal event in U.S. history was reported at the time. So again, some big ideas and understandings that students should take away from this lesson is that they should be evaluating the trustworthiness of a source, not just in studying the Boston Massacre, but in reading news or doing any kind of research. Point of view, every time we're analyzing something, we can think about whose point of view is being shared and what effect does that have on me as a reader. No source tells the whole story. It's important to read multiple sources to get the entire story. And primary and secondary sources can affect the trustworthiness of a source. Again, depending on where you are in the unit, grades 4 and 5, and even third grade do a lot of work with primary and secondary sources. Point of view is a grade 4 and grade 5 next generation standard. So if you're not the ELA teacher, you could collaborate with your ELA teacher to think about how to continue supporting students in analyzing sources and thinking about point of view and how that impacts our understanding of a text as a reader, whether it's a visual text or a written text. And that can be done, if we're thinking about ELA, that can be done in an informational unit as well as a fictional unit. And trustworthiness. Is the source that we're reading honest, right? So students can have this want to know, learn the KWL chart assigned to them on Google Slides. They should have information from the introductory portion of the lesson. You could take a minute to have some students just popcorn out what are the things that they want to know based on the videos and images that they saw and based on what they already know from previous lessons. So today we're going to focus on supporting students in jotting down more of what they know and what they learn, mostly what they learn. You could show this video. It's an animated graphic novel of the Boston Massacre. It's about 2.5 or 3 minutes. It's from the American Battlefield Trust. It's a good illustration to support students who are multilingual learners and English language learners in understanding the sequence of events and formulating their own opinion based on this source of what happened and how it happened. For independent work, you could assign breakout rooms on Google Classroom or Zoom, whatever platform you use. Students can work in groups of 4, and you will assign, there's 3 sources. You will assign one source to each of the groups. It would be beneficial for the groups to be heterogeneous with multilingual learners. You can even have students who are proficient in English in the room to help facilitate some of the work and some of the conversation that's going on in the room. So the scaffolds that I focus on here are increasing access to grade level texts and using home language as a resource Students use home language as a resource. You could assign the workbook pages if you're using the workbook mostly as a source. The pages are available in different languages, so help supporting multilingual learners and English language learners by giving them the source in their native language and English the day before would be really helpful in having them prepare for class discussions. So once they're in the group, some of the scaffolds that were made. So here, the Boston Massacre as reported in the Boston Gazette. There's two different highlights. So the highlights in yellow is information that is grouped, that speaks about the colonists, and then the information that's highlighted in green is information that pertains to the British soldiers. So there's this text, there's a lot of jumping back and forth between what the newspaper is reporting on. So the color coding could support multilingual learners and English language learners keep track of who the information is about. Students in each group can fill out this graphic organizer. Students can do it independently as they are listening to the text. There's already, all the slides have the audio version where students click and listen. One group is analyzing an illustration, right, from Paul Revere, who is a member of the Sons of Liberty, right? It's important to think about, I know what the Sons of Liberty are because I learned that in the last lesson. They don't want the British soldiers in the colonies. So how does that impact the illustration that I'm seeing and the message that I'm getting from that? And then the last text, Captain Thomas Preston's account of the Boston Massacre, right? So this is from the point of view of a British soldier. Some of the words I included just some quick definitions so that the content is more comprehensible for multilingual learners and English language learners. In the room, you could give students, maybe a minute or two to have a discussion summarizing what their source is saying. And then students will work together on a Padlet. So here's the Padlet. Here are the 4 questions they had to discuss in their breakout rooms. And they can type in their group's responses. One person could be assigned the recorder. For each group, type in the responses, and then if one person is the presenter or there's 2 people in each group that are presenting the answers to these questions, the whole class can come onto this Padlet and listen to the information that's presented. This would be really beneficial because everyone is getting information from 3 different sources, 3 different points of view. And so it really pushes students to think about what really happened during the Boston Massacre. And finally, once the work is done on the Padlet, students can come back onto the Google slide and fill out what they learned based on the presentations that went on the Padlet. So those are just some ways to scaffold the independent work and make the content more comprehensible for our multilingual learners and English language learners.